Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed. At 1,000 subscribers, I'll be posting a special video. He slid the engagement box across the counter, condition attached. I'm Lena, 29, and my hands would not stop shaking. Deposit first, then we're official. His smile barely moved. The receptionist waited with the card machine ready. I reached for my wallet and felt my throat close. The clinic hallway hummed like a warning. He pressed the box into my palm like a cue. Quick consult, you'll love it. His fingers tapped my wrist. I nodded once and followed the nurse inside. The lid clicked in my bag like a trap. Flash photos captured my face from 3 angles. Just refine the bridge. He watched the monitor without blinking. The surgeon traced a line in the air. 2 millimeters here, seamless. His pen hovered for consent. My breath stalled. 2 millimeters for forever. Any concerns? The surgeon waited, polite, distant, efficient. I touched my nose and counted my heartbeat. He squeezed my shoulder like a coach before kickoff. We're good, his voice cut the room clean. I stared at the form and felt the floor tilt. The pen weighed more than it should. I wrote my name slow while my stomach jumped. He leaned closer and checked the signature like a banker. Perfect timing, venue tour in 3 days, he grinned. My pulse hammered against the paper, tour or ultimatum. Pre-op today, light meal only, the nurse noted times. He answered first and booked the slot with confidence. I tried to speak and found only heat. He slipped the payment receipt into my bag. The door closed behind us like a verdict. In recovery prep, I lay under bright instructions. He adjusted the blanket and kissed my forehead. After this, I propose on the terrace, he winked. My mouth went dry, proposal by schedule. The anesthetist checked the drip and raised an eyebrow. Ready, the mask hovered and smelled faintly chemical. He lifted his phone and filmed a quick thumbs up. Future wife, he mouthed the words like a toast. I looked at the ceiling and counted backward. The world narrowed to numbers and a bargain. I woke to throbbing in gauze and a shadow. He held broth near my lips and blocked the mirror. No peeking, trust the process, he tucked stray hair. My eyes watered from pressure and something colder. He pocketed his phone and whispered about guest lists. Back home, he staged a tiny countdown on video. Day 1 of Glow Up, he raised 2 fingers. I reached for the mirror and he moved it. Tomorrow, less swelling, his jaw flexed like a warning. I tucked my hands under the blanket to stay steady. Night dragged in short gasps and careful sips. Pain pulsed with my heartbeat and the bandage tugged. He practiced a toast into his voice memo. Hot, timeless, elegant, he rehearsed each word slow. I watched the timer blink and wondered about consent. Morning arrived with a venue confirmation ping. He handed me sunglasses and a coat without questions. We'll swing by for a quick look, he smiled. I tapped the box in my bag, still unopened. The elevator doors closed and trapped my breath again. The venue manager greeted us with flawless energy. He gestured toward the aisle and counted steps aloud. I walked beside him and felt stitches scratch. He corrected my pace with a firm squeeze. Applause played from a speaker as a staff joke. Picture time, the manager raised a camera for framing. He lifted my chin with 2 fingers, gentle and firm. Confidence sells the moment, his teeth flashed sharp. The shutter clicked and my stomach rolled. I swallowed hard and tasted iron and panic. By the terrace rail, he set the box down. Open it, his voice softened like a new script. Wind stirred my hair and tickled the dressing. I kept my hands at my sides and waited. He pushed the box closer and watched my face. I need air, I stepped back and steadied myself. He followed once and blocked my path without touching. We're almost there, don't ruin the timing, he warned. Guests laughed somewhere behind a wall like distant waves. My fingers curled into fists I barely recognized. I lifted the box and felt its hinge bite. The diamond caught nothing because I refused the angle. He searched my eyes and found hesitation. "Baby, trust me, you'll thank me later," he urged. My ribs ached against the wrap and the lie. I closed the box and kept it closed. After follow-up, my voice sounded strange and careful. His nostrils flared and then smoothed to neutral. "Fine, tonight then," he reset the clock with a shrug. The terrace door opened and I walked through first. He woke me before dawn with a calendar invite. "Follow up at 9, dress neat," his watch tapped twice. I asked for 5 minutes to breathe and swallow. He opened the blinds and handed me sunglasses anyway. My heart kicked hard against the dressing, ready to bolt. At the clinic door, he angled me from the mirror. Confidence only, his palm hovered near my elbow. I kept my jaw locked while the nurse approached. "Any pain?" she waited as I counted a beat. "Manageable," I lied because he stared like a supervisor. In the exam chair, the surgeon measured quiet numbers. "Swelling normal, do not press or twist," a brief nod. I asked about exercise and social events and flights. "Low risk if you protect the structure," another neutral nod. He answered for me and booked pictures for later, sponsors watching. Back in the hall, he snapped a quick boomerang. "Day 2 progress," his thumb hovered over post. "Not yet," I blocked his phone with my hand. He smiled thin and tucked it away without blinking. Silence followed us to the elevator like a tail. At home, he balanced smoothies and wedding spreadsheets. "Deposits expire tonight, we lock numbers now," knuckles drummed. "I need rest," I sat and felt the throb climb. Rest after signatures, his grin looked like packaging. I set the laptop aside and watched his jaw harden. He pivoted, then "Let's try the reveal." Fingers lifted the mirror. I lifted mine and held it there. "No video," my voice landed sharp across the room. He lowered the phone and waited for permission. I peeled the tape slow and felt heat rise. The reflection hit like a shoulder check I never saw. A narrower line, new angles where memory used to live. "Better already," he stepped closer with a satisfied breath. I traced the bridge and caught a sting of warning. The mirror rattled as my grip fought the tremor. "Ring tonight, photos tomorrow, family brunch Sunday," he paced. "Stop scheduling my face," I set the mirror down. His laugh came short and glassy like a toast. "This was for us, you'll thank me on the terrace." I pictured the terrace and tasted battery acid fear. My phone buzzed and offered a tiny escape route. Work group chat, a coworker asked about deadlines. I typed one word, "sick," then muted everything. He peered at the screen and raised an eyebrow. "Tell them we're celebrating," he pushed with an eager shrug. I stood and walked to the kitchen for ice. He followed tight on my heels like a shadow. "Calories matter for camera angles," he slid a chart forward. I nudged it back and let the freezer hiss. He lingered until the compressor kicked louder than us. "Fine, nap first," he adjusted the curtains and backed away. I waited for his footsteps to fade down the hall. Then I dialed the clinic with the volume low. "Is postponing photos allowed?" I asked through clenched teeth. "Your choice," the nurse answered, crisp as scissors. He reappeared with a garment bag and a grin. "Try this on, just a quick fit," fingers twitched. Later, I set it on a chair untouched. He exhaled through his nose and checked the time. I promised a sneak peek to the planner, slipped out. "Unpromise it," I kept my gaze fixed and steady. He turned away and rubbed the back of his neck. "I need you on board," came out lower now. "You need my consent," I answered without raising volume. That pulled his eyes back like a hook. He reached for the ring case on the table. "Let's reset tonight, champagne quiet," a practice script. I slid the case into a drawer and held it there. Pause everything 48 hours, non-negotiable, my pulse hammered. He stared at the drawer as if it were locked. He tried charm first. We are a team, trust wins. I kept my hands visible and refused the reach. He tried logistics next. Vendors need answers before noon. I gave him one, no answers today. Each word landed. His smile flattened and stayed there like frost. He opened the front door and stepped halfway out. Think about what you risk, floated back into the room. I counted to 10 and tasted copper on my tongue. Then I texted the planner myself with 3 clean words. Hold all decisions, my thumb shook but held. When he returned, he carried takeout and a performance. I listened, no posts, no calls, just us, a flourish. I checked the bags for pills and for the slip. He noticed the search and lifted both hands empty. Nothing hidden, the statement landed like a challenge. We ate in short bites while the clock clicked forward. He tried small talk about playlists and seating charts. I gave single syllables that refused to grow. Finally, he leaned in and lowered his voice. What do you want right now? He waited too still. I want silence and room to decide, came out clean. He nodded once and looked at the closed drawer. Then keep that safe until you're sure, slid out slowly. I studied his face for cracks and found none. Outside, a siren flared and faded like a warning. He took the couch and scrolled without speaking. I iced my nose and watched the ceiling breathe. Every throb marked another step toward a different outcome. I pictured the terrace again and let it dissolve. 48 hours started now, and I would use them. An email pinged with a subject that froze my stomach. Model release confirmation. My thumb opened it before I could think. The signature on the form wasn't mine. Shaky. Copy of my name sat under his number. I gripped the counter and felt something tilt. I walked to him and held the screen up. What is this? My voice stayed low and controlled. He didn't look stunned, he looked prepared. They need permission for previews, standard. His shoulders lifted once. My jaw locked while the email burned. From my account, I pointed at the header and timestamp. You left it unlocked, he studied a smudge on the table. That is not consent, I kept each word separate. He reached for a hug I didn't invite. I stepped back and watched his arms drop. I called the clinic and kept it on speaker. Withdraw image authorization now, I told the receptionist clearly. We will flag it and notify administration. Her tone stayed formal. I asked for the audit log and IP history. She paused, then promised an investigation by end of day. His phone lit with a pop from the planner. Before and after grid scheduled, the preview flashed and vanished. I grabbed my device and typed fast. Cancel all media, client rescinds rights. My fingers shook hard. 3 dots bubbled, then disappeared like a dare. He followed me to the hallway with soft steps. Let's not overreact, we're under pressure, hands spread wide. Change passwords, I said out loud to myself. I moved fast and swapped everything in minutes. A login alert flagged his tablet as a previous device. He reached for his keys and blocked the front door. Sit, we will talk like adults, lips pressed thin. I stared until he moved his hand away. Then I walked past and ordered a ride. He watched the map count down without blinking. Myra answered on the second ring and didn't bother with greetings. Where? She cut straight to logistics. I named a corner and told her about the forged release. Screenshots back up to cloud, then meet me now. Her words were flint and I moved. The driver glanced at the bandage but stayed quiet. I filmed a short clip describing the release and time. Evidence felt like oxygen I could measure. My notifications stuttered between planner pings and his messages. I muted everything and stared at the passing numbers. Myra arrived fast and slid into a booth opposite me. Show me, she said, tapping the table twice. I handed over the phone and watched her scroll. He used your email, that crosses a line. My throat tightened and then steadied. I want a therapist now. I opened a search. She already had a contact pulled up and ready. Emergency slot at 4, short session, take it. I booked it while her hand anchored my wrist. The confirmation text landed like an anchor. He walked in before the coffee arrived. His smile worked the room before it turned to us. Let's step outside. He flicked a glance at Myra. She didn't move. Here works. Her straw clicked once. He pulled up a chair too close. I fixed the planner situation. He started with practice calm. They need content to build momentum. His knee jittered. I revoked permission permanently. I kept both palms flat. He tried humor. You'll love the results. Trust the pros. Myra's eyebrow rose and stayed there. Hands off my accounts. Hands off my face decisions. His grin collapsed and reformed into something colder. Money is on the line, slid out under his breath. I will eat the loss before surrendering control. He leaned back and scanned the room for allies. Leave for an hour, Myra said, voice even. He drummed once, then stood without pushing the chair in. Think carefully, he tossed over his shoulder like a threat. He exited as if cameras followed him to the door. My shoulders dropped and then tensed again. I used the hour to call the bank. Freeze the shared card, I said with careful diction. The agent read the last charges and paused. Venue deposit attempted 5 minutes ago, declined. Heat rose up my neck and settled into focus. I emailed the venue with a client statement. Do not run any payments, authorization withdrawn by client. A reply came fast with a request for confirmation ID. I attached proof and copied the planner and coordinator. 3 minutes later, the account showed 0 balance. My phone buzzed with a new number and a clipped voice. This is administration from the clinic. We received your complaint. I asked for the access record and asked again for speed. We will secure your file and halt external sharing now. I stared at the tabletop and felt the knot loosen. He returned exactly at the hour mark like a clock. Ready to talk, he kept his hands visible. Not alone, I gestured to Myra and the open space. He twitched but sat, eyes narrowed at our little fortress. What do you want? He finally asked without decoration. Control over my body, control over my timeline, respect. He nodded once as if evaluating a contract clause. I can do that, he offered softer than before. Prove it now, I said and pushed my phone forward. Text the planner and cancel all images and teasers. He typed slowly and showed the screen for review. I read the message and recognized the rare honesty. Client retracts consent, delete all drafts, he hit send. We waited, a check mark appeared, then another. I breathed out and prepared for the next move. House tonight or elsewhere, he tested the boundaries again. Elsewhere, I answered and felt the word settle. Myra nodded and checked her keys like a signal. He swallowed something pride-flavored and rose. Tomorrow, he tried, but I shook my head once. He left without a scene this time, which scared me more. Silence pooled around the table and sharpened my hearing. Myra slid a folded note with her address and gate code. Pack essentials only, then come straight over. I tucked the paper deep and tightened my grip. As we walked out, my phone vibrated hard. A new alert showed a failed login on my cloud. Location matched his office, not our place. I screenshot it and saved it twice for safety. The elevator doors closed and my pulse kept counting. The lock resisted once, then turned with a gritty snap. I pushed in fast and scanned for tampering. The ring case sat open on the table like bait. My stomach tightened and I closed it with one finger. I grabbed a small bag and went straight for documents. Phone, charger, meds, ID, no dithering. Footsteps hit the hallway outside and hurried closer. I shoved the bag under the bed and stood ready. The knob twitched twice, then stopped like it listened. A text arrived from an unknown number, short and sharp. Return my calls or I escalate, no greeting. I screenshot it and dropped it in a new folder. Another ping followed with a location share request. I declined and locked down the settings again. The door finally opened with a practiced glide. He stepped in holding flowers like a script prop. Truce, he offered with a careful tilt of his head. I blocked the path and lifted my phone camera. His shoulders stiffened and the bouquet hit the counter. You forged my release, I said without raising volume. He rubbed his eyebrow and tried a slow smile. Miscommunication, I handled logistics to help us. Stop touching my accounts, I cut in clean. He let the smile drop and watched my hands. Give me your keys, I said and opened my palm. He chuckled once, then tossed them like a coin. They landed near the sink with a hard clack. I walked past him and pocketed both key fobs. He tracked me with that investor stare that never blinked. I'm leaving for a few nights, I stated, not asked. Where? He pushed, voice quiet and razor straight. Not your concern, I answered, voice steady and slow. He planted a hand on the doorframe without touching me. Don't make this messy, he muttered to the floor. Therapist pinged with a reminder, 4 o'clock confirmed. I nodded to no one and zipped the bag. He watched the zipper travel like a fuse. We can see a counselor together, he tried softer. Individual first, I said, and he swallowed the rest. He reached for the ring case with 2 fingers. Let me fix the moment you wanted, came smooth. I slid the drawer shut before he could lift it. No proposals under pressure, I said and held his gaze. He exhaled and pressed his tongue to the back teeth. I'll walk you down, he offered, stepping aside an inch. No, I replied, already dialing a ride. He spread his arms like he was being filmed. I'm cooperating, he announced to the empty room. I slid past and kept the phone between us. The elevator doors closed and I checked the bag again. Nothing extra, no trackers that I could see. I toggled airplane mode for the ride out. A message slipped through before the signal died. Last chance to be on the same team. The waiting room clock ticked with stubborn rhythm. A door opened and the therapist called my name once. We sat, she watched my hands start and stop. One goal today, she said, pen still capped. Safety plan for the next 72 hours. We built it like a checklist with tight boxes. Stay with a friend, keep evidence backed up. Communicate only by written message for accountability. No shared payment. No shared devices, no surprises. Call non-emergency if he appears at the door. Say the boundary out loud, she coached with a nod. I decide what happens to my body, I spoke clearly. I decide timing, I decide images, I decide access. She held the silence until my breathing evened. Now text him the boundary, she added, calm and firm. I typed slowly and checked each word twice. No visits, no media, only email for logistics. Any breach and I involve authorities immediately, I finished. I hit send and let the phone rest on the table. 3 dots appeared, then vanished, then reappeared. His reply arrived, 3 parts love and 1 part threat. Baby, I adore you, you're overwhelmed, don't overplay this. Think about reputations, we built momentum, it concluded. I forwarded it to my evidence folder without comment. My jaw unclenched and the pen finally touched paper. I left the session and headed to Myra's. A car shadowed us for 4 blocks with suspicious patience. I told the driver to take 2 extra turns. The shadow peeled off at the last intersection. My pulse stayed high as we rolled to the curb. Myra buzzed me up and scanned my face first. You good enough to move? She asked, already clearing space. Good enough, I answered, voice hoarse but steady. We reorganized the essentials and shut the door. Her deadbolt landed with a clean, satisfying punch. Email from the clinic arrived with a final update. All external sharing halted, unauthorized signature logged. A PDF attachment showed the forged consent highlighted. I forwarded it to myself and to a private archive. The file stared back like a loaded guarantee. Another message followed from the event organizer. Vendors request confirmation on cancellation penalties today. I breathed once and typed a blunt answer. Cancel everything, I accept fees, I wrote and sent. A short receipt returned with numbers that stung. My screen flashed with a live notification from his profile. A story posted with our initials and a countdown. I recorded the clip and saved a copy offline. Then I messaged him the boundary again with the file. Remove the countdown by midnight or I report harassment. Minutes later, the story vanished without apology. I watched the circle fade and felt a thin release. A knock rattled Myra's door before the exhale finished. We froze, the peephole showed his profile, tense and still. My phone hovered over dial as knuckles rapped again. I raised my phone and started the recording. Myra mouthed wait and pointed to the chain. State your reason for being here, I called through. His jaw worked once while the peephole framed him. I want to talk, came quiet but edged. Email only, I answered while my thumb hovered 112. He pressed his forehead to the door like leverage. Open up or I call your parents, he threatened. Myra lifted her own phone and showed the keypad. He stepped back one pace, then knocked again. Leave, I said, voice steady and loud. He dragged a hand through his hair and laughed once. This is dramatic, he tossed at the wood barrier. I saved the clip to 2 folders and breathed. Final warning, I added, pulse hammering for space. Silence, then a soft scrape across the doorframe. Myra's gaze sharpened and she nodded to dial. I hit the number and gave the address. Restrained contact requested, violated boundary documented, I said flat. A patrol car confirmed they were en route. He heard the timeline and shifted tactics fast. I brought the contract to prove good faith, floated in. Slide it under, I answered without moving an inch. A packet appeared with his initials on the front. Myra snapped photos as the paper inched through. I read the clause that locked media rights indefinitely. His pen had amended dates and added penalties. My throat cooled while the letters lined up. You tried to bind my face to your brand, I said. He swore under his breath and covered the peephole. Sirens swelled from the avenue and then quieted. He retreated to the stairwell with a long exhale. 2 officers climbed and met us at the door. I showed recordings and the edited agreement. They knocked, announced themselves, and waited. He returned with a neutral smile that looked trained. We're engaged, this is a misunderstanding, he offered calmly. I lifted the phone and played his threats. The officers compared timestamps and exchanged a look. Leave for the night, one instructed, firm and plain. He studied my face like a spreadsheet and complied. I'll call tomorrow, he tried as a last hook. Email only, the officer repeated before the elevator opened. He stepped inside with a tight jaw that promised trouble. The doors closed and the hallway exhaled. Back inside, I opened the packet and found a receipt. A private photographer had been paid for an embargo. Delivery listed tomorrow at noon to his office. Cancel it yourself, Myra said, already pulling up search. I messaged the studio with the documentation attached. Their response landed fast with professional caution. Order terminated by client request, files purged, they replied. I asked for a confirmation letter for my records. It arrived with a signature and an internal note. I filed it in the evidence vault with a shiver. Bank alerts pinged again with back-to-back attempts. He tried a transfer from the shared emergency fund. I called the bank and escalated to fraud prevention. Freeze remaining access, send a written summary, I instructed. The agent confirmed and issued a new reference number. I turned to Myra with the next step. I'm sending the ring back by courier today. She raised an eyebrow, then handed me a box. No doorstep exchange, paper trail only, she reminded. I wrote a one-line note and sealed it tight. The courier app showed a pickup within 40 minutes. I booked it and photographed every angle for proof. The driver arrived and verified my ID twice. The package left my hands like a snapped tether. I watched the tracker move down the block. My inbox chimed with the clinic's audit report. Access logs listed 3 unauthorized views after hours. Time matched his office, not my devices. I forwarded the log to our contact in administration. Their reply promised a formal complaint to their board. Myra poured water and waited for my voice. I'm done, I said, clean and final. Then draft the cancellation email to families, she urged. I opened a blank message and let the words march. Engagement ended, do not contact me through him. Her phone buzzed with a gate camera alert. The screen showed him pacing near the sidewalk. He looked straight at the lens and lifted his hands. No knocking, no shouting, just a steady stare. The camera timestamp ticked while he stood there. I sent him one last message through email. Do not approach this address again, all contact in writing. A read receipt flashed and then nothing else moved. Minutes stretched like wire and refused to snap. I kept the officer's case number open beside me. The courier confirmed delivery with a digital signature. Seconds later, my phone lit with a subject line. Ring received, his email read, clipped and almost clinical. Return losses immediately, I replied with the reference numbers. 3 dots pulsed, then disappeared into a blank screen. Myra packed a go bag and placed it near. Crash here, doors locked, phones on loud. I nodded and lay back with a cold pack. The bandage itched and my chest climbed too fast. Sleep hovered, then broke at a new vibration. A private account posted a cryptic poll on his feed. Major announcement tomorrow, guess the news, it teased. I screen recorded and filed it with the rest. Then I wrote him a formal cease and desist. The subject line read notice of defamation and harassment. I copied the officers on the message and hit send. The night cooled into something like steady breath. Myra set an extra charger within reach and watched me. Therapist in the morning, she reminded in a whisper. I stared at the ceiling and waited for the next move. His major announcement goes live at 9 sharp, my screen lights up. A teaser reel cuts to our initials and a fake proposal clip. I hit record and capture every frame for evidence. Myra leans over my shoulder and whispers the plan. We file a report to the platform while the views climb. I open a new email with the officer's case number. Subject line reads notice of ongoing harassment and misuse of likeness. Attachments stack audit logs, forged release, countdown clips. I add the therapist's boundary note as supporting proof. I press send and feel the floor steady beneath me. His inbox reply lands in seconds like a thrown dart. Stop sabotaging us, I invested everything, the message insists. I breathe once and type a final line back. The wedding is canceled, all coordination must cease today. Read receipt flickers, then disappears into cold silence. My mother calls through video before I can blink. Her eyebrows rise when she sees the bandage and boxes. I keep my voice even and give only current facts. Engagement ended, unauthorized media, police involved. She nods once and asks for the officer's number. Myra grabs her keys and motions toward the door. Courthouse window opens at 10, she reminds without drama. We ride in quiet while I rehearse the statement. I will ask for a protective order and digital restrictions. Every sentence ends with a period I can stand on. The clerk scans my documents and prints a docket sheet. Judge will review shortly, she says with practiced cadence. A bailiff appears and calls my name toward a side room. I step in and face a robe and a notepad. State the harm, the judge prompts, pen poised for impact. I describe forged permission, attempted charges, posts, doorstep visit. I submit clips and the clinic's security log. Written boundaries ignored, I add. Hands visible and steady. The judge signs an order with a crisp final stroke. Serve this today, violations trigger arrest, the bailiff confirms. We exit into a hallway buzzing with other tests. My phone vibrates with a blocked number and a voicemail. I listen with earbuds while Myra watches my face. Pull the stunt and I release everything, his voice warns. I save the file and forward it to the case folder. Next stop is my bank branch with the fraud report. New accounts issued, old ones closed with confirmed blocks. I request alerts for any attempt linked to his data. The manager prints a letter for my records. Ink dries while my pulse finally matches a normal beat. The platform responds and disables his teaser page. Policy breach, content removed, the notice confirms. A second email asks if I authorize a formal takedown. Yes, and preserve logs for legal proceedings, I reply clean. Myra's smile is quick and fierce like a nod. He tests the order within an hour with a text. Meet me or I go live from the venue, it reads. I screenshot and forward to the officer on duty. Noted, we will swing by the location, comes back. I tighten my coat and prepare for one more stop. We drive to the venue to confront the last invoice. The coordinator meets us with cautious posture and open hands. I received your cancellation, fee reduced due to circumstances. I sign the final line and keep my chin level. Please remove our names from all schedules, I add. He arrives late and finds us near the front desk. Two uniforms step from the hallway like patient anchors. He freezes when he sees the envelope in my hand. I offer the served order across the counter. His jaw tightens but his hands stay low. Step back 3 meters, the taller officer instructs calmly. He obeys and flicks his gaze toward the empty ballroom. Return every image created without authorization, I state clearly. Written confirmation by tonight, Myra adds, arms folded. He inhales to argue, then spots the badge numbers. Is this what you want, he tries, voice suddenly soft. What I want is ownership of myself, I answer slowly. He looks past me as if a crowd might sway me. There is no crowd, only the paper and the rule. He nods in defeat and pockets his phone. We leave through a side exit and keep walking. Myra's steps match mine until both grow even. I dial the clinic from the curb and confirm follow-up. No photos during recovery, I reiterate for the record. Understood, the coordinator replies with crisp assurance. My inbox pings with a copy of his compliance note. All previews delighted, no further use of likeness, it reads. I forward it to the officer in my archive. The thread closes with a stamped acknowledgement. I breathe out and check my reflection to verify calm. He tries one final maneuver with a group blast. Mutual decision to postpone, the message proclaims to everyone. I reply to all with 4 simple lines. Engagement ended, coercion documented, order issued, please respect privacy. The room stays quiet while the replies roll in. Myra sets down food I can actually finish. Between bites, I call the therapist and update the plan. Next goal is reclaiming routine, she coaches through the speaker. Book things that belong to you again, she adds. I schedule a solo trip to the follow-up and smile. The courier returns receipts for the ring and the letters. Everything sits in one folder with dates and times. I rename it Future Me Wins and lock it twice. Then I power down his thread and mute the noise. Silence arrives not empty but earned. Night edges in and my phone lights again. A single email arrives from his address marked subject, acknowledged. Payment returned in full, no further contact, the message states. I stare at the period at the end. I let it stand like a door that finally shuts.